Here's how I think I got into Dartmouth. So the first thing I did was take a bunch of hard classes. That means AP and honors classes. I took a total of 11 APs. You definitely don't need to do that many, and you could do more. But if hard classes are available and you can handle them, definitely go for it and take them. It's also just practical because you're going to be held to a higher academic standard. In college, the bar is much higher, so it's good to challenge yourself while you're in high school and get used to that extra amount of rigor. You'll be that much more prepared in college. Okay, so the second important component of my application was my test scores. I was fortunate enough to receive perfect scores on the SAT and 3 of the subject tests. So I took Math Level 2, Chemistry, and Latin. And I was really diligent about, first scheduling the test date, leaving myself plenty of time to prepare, buying a prep book, and then making a prep schedule and really sticking to it so that I was, step by step, adequately preparing for each of the exams that I took. Okay, so the third category that I think really helped out my application was my extracurriculars. So in high school, I was obsessed with the Latin language.
Abe's a nerd!
Yes, I was a nerd, but the point is that I found something I was super passionate about, and I really went to the extreme with it, took it pretty far in my general endeavors. So what I did was I spent a lot of time outside of class studying classics, so Roman history, Roman life, classical art, extra Latin grammar and vocabulary, so that I could compete at the regional, state, and national conventions in both the academic contests and then also this super nerdy quiz bowl game called Curtamen. And as you guys know, of course, another thing I did was I founded this channel with Frank, Social Science Simplified. Yes, in our junior year of high school. So that went on my college application too. And I guess fifth and finally, I was on my school's varsity tennis team. So for my essays, my Common App essay was about how I first got interested in astronomy, how I started the club, and then how I eventually grew the club. My supplemental essay was similar, except it was about Latin. It was about what initially sparked my interest in classics, how I, spent a lot of time studying extra things, why I'm passionate about classics, and how I contributed to my school's Latin club. Okay, so for teacher recommendations, I really recommend asking teachers that, you developed a more extensive relationship with, or teachers that teach subjects that you're super passionate about. So for me, I asked my Latin teacher, of course, because he'd really seen how excited I got and how much extra work I put into studying classics over high school. And then I also asked my physics teacher because I actually ended up majoring in physics, so he knew I was super into it. I put a lot of extra work into his physics classes, so I thought that was a good fit too. Okay, so now that you guys have the general specifics about my application, I have a few takeaways to share with you. So the first thing an admissions officer is going to do when they look at your application is check out your grades and your test scores. So they need to make sure that you have a strong academic foundation, that you have a wide breadth of knowledge, and that also you have a good enough work ethic to handle college classes. You're disciplined to set aside the time to study and do well. If you founded some kind of club, it could be an academic club like my astronomy club, or it could be something completely random like a live action role play LARP club. They're going to be like, ooh, this kid takes initiative and is a leader. We like that. If you did a lot of community service or you worked for a non-profit, the admissions officer might be like, ooh, this kid is super compassionate. He or she cares about improving his community. If you were an athlete in high school, they might be like, this kid is super disciplined. He woke up at 5 a.m. while taking all these hard classes for morning practice, and they might admire that. Okay, so the reason why I just took the time to go through all those examples is because these kinds of qualities are the qualities that you want to be communicating in your application. And the hardest thing to do in your application is to communicate these qualities by showing instead of telling. So, for example, with my Latin stuff, all my awards are going to be listed in the Common App activities section of my application. So in my essays, I don't want to go through and just describe I study X amount of hours on this subject and Y amount of hours on this other subject. I want to go through and say, okay, look, you already know I took all the time outside of class to study classics. So I want to describe in my essays, why did I do that? What does that say about me? It says that I'm intellectually curious. It says that when I'm passionate about something, I'm willing to take it and go the extra mile with it. That's the kind of stuff you want to take and really communicate in your essays. So full disclosure, this whole process of showing, not telling is super challenging, especially when you're just 17 or 18 and you're still trying to figure out who you are as a person. So we've made an extra video. You guys should check it out. We go through our own college essays and some more recent essays we've written and talk about the good aspects and the bad aspects and really get to the root of how to show and not tell. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comment down below. We'll catch you guys next time.